Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about radians and degrees. And very simple two objectives for this video are going to be focused on converting degrees to radians and converting radians to degrees. Let's get started. Before we can actually convert between the two modes of degrees and radians, I think it's good to understand what is a degree and what is a radian, just for the differentiating of this video. So if we say something is in degrees, oops, let me fix that up. That is supposed to be that color. Let me say if this is in degrees, it's just something written as a number. Oh, that's supposed to say 75. Let me fix that. It's a number and a degree symbol, okay? That's not an exponent, that is a degree symbol. So 75 degrees, right? Whereas if something was in radians, it's usually written in something with a pi, okay? So for example, I could say pi over 8 radians. Or I can also say, if I write it a different way, I could also say or pi over 8 rad. So radians and rad mean the same thing here, okay? But degrees, I mean, you can also say 75 degrees in words also, so maybe I should just write that here as well. I think it's just in the context of the word problem as well too. They might use the word degrees, or they could just show you the degree symbol. Same thing with radians. They could say radians, or they could say rad for radians. If we're going to convert between degrees to radians or convert degrees to radians, then the first thing you should note is that the first thing here would be whatever that degree is. So here's a quick formula for you. It is the degree, the degrees times pi over 180 degrees. All right, so again, if you're going to degrees to radians, you go from degrees times pi over 180 radians, 180 degrees, and that should give you your something in radians. All right. And likewise, if you're converting radians to degrees, you take your radians that are given to you, radians times 180 degrees over pi, and I should be more specific here, pi radians. And this equals something in degrees. So if I go back one slide, let me just specify here, this pi is actually pi radians. Oops. So pi radians. So pi rad, pi radians, and then it's basically the same thing here. The units will cancel, and that's how you get radians. It's similar to if you've taken a chemistry class before. It's something where you like cross cancel the same units to get a different unit, and that's what we're doing here. We're going from A to B or B to A. Now, in this first example, we want to convert 120 degrees into radians. So the first thing I'll do is acknowledge what formula I'm using. So here, I mean, for the video purpose, I'll write here degrees times pi rad. Oops. Pi rad over 180 degrees. And that equals the radians. All right, so here I'll just plug it in now. My degrees that's given to me is 120 degrees times pi radians, because I want to go into radians. I wrote the whole word out, but that's okay, over 180 degrees. Now if I do the work here, 12 and, well, sorry, 120 and 180 both have a common common factor of 10. So I'll cross out this and I'll get 12 and I'll get 18. Also, at this point, I can just cancel out the degrees and the degrees. 12 and 18 both have a common factor of 6. So I'll do 2 and this becomes 3. So my final answer would be 2 pi over 3 radians. Oops, I'll box it right here. There you go, 2 pi over 3 radians. So remember, going from degrees to radians is degrees times the pi radians over 180 degrees. And that's what we did here in our example right here at the next step. In example 2, we want to convert 5 pi over 4 radians into degrees. So I'll lay it out again. My given radians times 180 degrees over pi radians, or pi rad again, right? Equals something in degrees. All right, so now I'll get my given 5 pi over 4 radians. I'll use rad here. I'll use parentheses here just for the sake of multiplying, times 180 over pi rad. Oh, well, degree sign right here for consistency. Now I can cross cancel the radians, and I know I'm going into degrees. And notice vertically, I can, diagonally, I can cancel out the pi's. And let's see, that leaves me with 5 and 4. So I think 4 goes into 180 45 times. So now I get, this turns into 1, and that gives me 225 degrees as my final answer. And just to reiterate, we went from radians to degrees by using radians times 180 degrees over pi rad to give us our degree value. And in the next step, you see that we can cross cancel units to get to our final answer. So hopefully this video is a good introduction to radians and degrees and how to convert them and into their respective forms. And, feel free to leave any comments on the video below for any questions you may have.